You want to get better at FC25 now? Before you skip ahead, what if I told you if you don't get better after 1 month, I'll refund your money? That's the Nil Guys guarantee. We got in-depth tutorials that are not even on the YouTube channel. We show you the theory of something and we show you gameplay examples in a structured format. We also go over real-life football examples that apply to the game and exclusive pro gameplay analysis, full gameplay analysis to elevate your game. We teach you everything from the basics to the meta. Come join at patreon.com/Nil Guys. Links down below in the description. If you don't get better after 1 month, we'll refund your money. That's the Nil Guys guarantee. Links down below in the description. Okay, now let's go over role pluses. Do they make a difference? Do they actually work is the question I'm getting asked a lot, because a lot of Twitter threads have been going around, or X threads rather, as is now called. And does stats matter? What has a bigger weighting? Stats, playstyles, we're going to go through that all together. Now, my opinion still stays the same. I think there's a lot of misinformation and confusion in the community. And the first thing I want to talk about is, yes, there is a difference, but there's certain ways you can feel it more and certain ways. The problem is that there's like a flaw, right? AI attack should be amazing. Players should be making these amazing runs, diagonal runs. But when you press the L1 button, they just run forward. They don't make these diagonal runs unless you do something like creative runs. But they haven't got the intelligence. Well, maybe they don't have intelligence to do it, but the game limits the player's intelligence to do it. So maybe in the future that will be different. But that is why I think people don't see difference between role plus, etc., etc. Because there's like not a flaw. There's like a ceiling of how good AI movement can be. You'll notice it less. Now, when a player plays out of position, as I mentioned when the game came out, this is pretty obvious. You know, if you don't believe me, go put a fullback in center back, or go put it. They're going to be out of position all the time. This is something you never want to do. At the bare minimum, what I always say is a player should at least be in the right position. The only exception is sometimes if you're changing, let's say you're losing inside the game, like here's Levy's tactic example that I made a few other days. And let's say, for example, I don't know, I need to put someone in 4-4-2. Let's assume Cunha's in the right position. Maybe having a strike out position is not the end of the world, but they should never be out of position in your core, your defense, your back four, or your CDMs. That is where absolutely not. For the average person watching this, never have a play out of position. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, you must do. Now, in terms of the roles, okay, now, if you put someone now, think about work rates, right? So I want to give you an example. So we're just going to go back here to just to make things look a bit easier. We're going to go back to that 4-2-3-1, just because I think it's a bit more nicer like this. Now we're going to show you a comparison. Now we're going to put both of the fullbacks on attacking wing back, right? Now, work rates, if you remember, think of the plus like a high, okay? Like the olden days, high work rates. And this is where you notice it the most. If someone has a role plus, they're very much going to get into position much easier. I think another way of noticing this the most is if you struggle defensively, statistically speaking, in my opinion, just by putting a holding plus, as long like the player needs good stats. You can't put someone who's got 50 pace. Okay, you have to be, we'll come over like stats, what takes the veto over what in a second. But let's say you have someone who at least got 85 sprint speed with a shadow and good defensive awareness. As long as they're holding plus, because most people can't defend 99% of the time, the game will actually help you. It's the same with defenders. Now, defender plus is the best one, okay? But if I give you a defender plus and I put Maldini there, but you don't know how to defend, it's not going to make a difference. Like if I put you in the fastest Formula 1 car, does that mean you're going to win the race? Yeah, you might speed past everyone from pole position in the first corner, but you're going to get taken over the race. So what I'm trying to say is all these things are taken into account. But the way you notice it the most is the role plus. Now, in terms of a striker, okay? Now, this is where I think this is important. If someone has a false 9, let's say Son has a false 9 plus, and they have just, say, a regular poacher, do not use the false 9 just because they have a plus, because that changes the way they play. So make sure you use the right role for what you want. So for example, if I have a CDM, right? I know holding CDM is the best one, okay? Even compared to center mid, CDM's holding is a different gravy. They're always in the right place at the right time. I always told you, if you struggle defensively, 2 CDMs will save you. Now, if you end up putting a wide half in, but they're going to end up playing like a left back, it's not just because you've got a plus, it's not going to make you play better. So when you're choosing roles, when you're choosing a player, you put the correct role on them first. If they have a plus, or they have a plus, then it's a benefit. But don't go changing. Like, for example, people don't use poacher because none of the pros use poacher. Do people even know why the pros don't use poacher? In my opinion, you should have a format. I use poacher quite a lot. I think it's actually better. It's better than advanced forward. I only use advanced forward because I like to pass the ball to finesse shot. If the finesse shot meta wasn't there, if I didn't need my players to be there, I'll probably be using poacher all the time. So these are all the things you got to take into account. Now, when we go over what's an important, it's an amalgamation of everything. Okay, so let's say, for example, when I'm choosing a player, it's not just the role plus here. So let's say, for example, we see here he's let's just say he's advanced for plus, right? I don't just, when I look at a player, I don't think, oh my god, Rashford, role plus, he's going to be making these amazing runs. I don't neglect the stats, because also what we know is attacking, defensive awareness, attack positioning is very important for attackers, and defensive awareness is very important for defenders. So if you have a defender, let's say, who's got, in my opinion, this Kunde is one of the best centre backs inside the game, this Evo, but it's an amalgamation. Now, yes, the benefit is he does have, as a centre back, he has defender, but if he doesn't have defender plus, it's not the end of the world for me, because it's amalgamation. Now, what takes a higher weighting? I don't know the exact formula. I don't even know what I can say on this, but all I can say is it's a formula of both. Okay, it's not an equal weighting, but it's a formula of both. But at the end of the day, if you get a defender plus with 50 sprint speed, you're not going to use that player, are you? Like, if you're focusing on this plus like it's the end of the world, and this is the problem. Okay, the reason why people, as I said, there's a ceiling on how good role pluses are. So this is why people, they don't notice it as much, but there is a difference with runs. It's just that it doesn't happen on a recurring basis. Okay, think about this. Those amazing runs, they make a few times inside the game. It's not on a recurring basis, and it should be. I think the role plus, the difference should be much greater than it is. But I say again, because there's a ceiling for how good attacking AI is, and because you don't see that movement. If you don't believe me, put one of your strikers on role plus and normal role, compare it, assuming they got the same attack positioning, and you'll see a video that move better. But you don't see it enough because it doesn't happen recurringly. I think it should, but it doesn't. Now, that's why the average player can't notice it. Now, in my opinion, I always go for stats first. In my opinion, the biggest amalgamation for me in terms of looking for a player is still stats and playstyles, okay? Because when I put this jockey playstyle plus, and now if you use that Maldini card, that icon, that new one, without the jockey, he's different caliber. When you put the jockey on him, the guy's a different player altogether. He's amazing. The jockey playstyle plus makes the player much better. So even now, what people don't understand is defensive awareness affects the speed of a running jockey. The higher defensive awareness, the better that player would feel. But if I have, for example, a player like Kadioglu, he hasn't, well, I've evoed him now, but he didn't have the best of defensive awareness, but he had the regular jockey, not the playstyle plus, but the regular jockey playstyle. This made effectively his jockey speed faster than his stats will actually depict. And I'll give you another example, okay? Let's say, for example, I'm trying to think of a good example. I don't have Bon Mati on this. Actually, I don't have the tiki-taka playstyle. But like the tiki-taka playstyle, right? If you had, for example, a Cam with a tiki-taka playstyle, right? Even if their passing, for example, was like 80, you will notice a tiki-taka playstyle will make their pass better. Or a finesse shot example, okay? Now, you don't believe me? Go buy the best player you can without the finesse shot playstyle, okay? Not even the finesse shot playstyle plus, not even the finesse shot playstyle. Go buy it without the playstyle, yeah? And go find someone. In fact, we're going to do this together, okay? I'm just going to show you an example, okay? We're going to do this together. So we're going to go to players and we're going to find the best player, ideally. So we're going to find a player with 90 curve. And we're just going to talk about long shots right here. So we're going to do, I don't even think there's that many players. We're going to put finishing, we're going to put 85. Although that's more inside the box. Let's say the penalty arc, the amalgamation is important. And shot power 90. So all these together, these key stats will all take into account the finesse shot. But I promise you, okay? You finesse the ball with any of these players and then you finesse the ball with Son. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, Rivaldo, even if he had all better stats than Son with a finesse shot playstyle, that finesse shot's going to be much better. So in terms of weighting, I go with stats because look, it doesn't matter if I got a finesse shot playstyle if I've got 50 pace. Unless I want to pass the ball to the feet and finesse the ball the entire time. But if that was the case, then no pro player, every pro player will be using players with like 10 pace, 20 pace if stats didn't make a difference. So obviously stats make a difference. I go for stats and playstyles together. If I know that I'm looking for a finesse shot playstyle plus, for example, I'm going like this. And I'm going to search, for example, for a player. And I'm going to be like, okay, which of these players has, and I'm going to go here to playstyles, and I'm going to finesse shot playstyle plus. And whoever's there, I would use them. Now, let's say we were a bit more realistic. Now, let's drop this down to 85 because there's not that many players at all, even with 85. Let's say we dropped everything down to 85, right? Then I would make a decision who fits in my team. Now, let's say Griezmann fit in my team and gave me full chemistry. But then I can play Son off chemistry, but he's got a 5-star weak foot. And I know his stats without the chemistry boost is better than Griezmann. Then I would choose Son. So chemistry only gives me a boost. That's why like when I play a play off chemistry, I don't care. Like people have this thing, oh, you need 33 chemistry. Like, well, I don't understand. Where are people hearing this from? Because they've even said and they've confirmed that this is just a number. Before, back in the day, 100 chemistry used to be a thing, 0 to 100. You should know me for years. I've never cared. So if a player's on 1 chemistry, I don't care. Sissoko's job is to do a long ball, for example. I don't care if Kadioglu's on 2 chemistry. Yeah, he could be better, but I can't afford anyone right now. But if I had the money, yeah, Theo Hernandez will go there off chemistry on this account. So I'm just saying all these things, they all make a difference. So when I am choosing a player, all these things are taken into account. But that's why Role I kind of look at it last. Because I only have a finite number. Let's say I've got a Premier League team here and I want someone who's got all these stats and the finesse shot playstyle. Apart from someone like Smith who's an icon that fits in. Saka's an SBC, right? I can't use Kane. He's too slow. And then, for example, Elise plays in Bundesliga. I've only got here maybe like 15 players I can choose from maximum that I can realistically use. And out of that 15, I can probably only afford 10 of them. And then only 5 of them fit in my team. So then I would choose, okay, Son, does your advanced 4++? Then I will put him in. So that's the way I do it. I go for the stats. And then I go for the play styles. And then I go for the roles in that order. And the reason why I go stats first is, and let me explain this to you very importantly, right? There is players that have the finesse shot play style, right? But let's be realistic, yeah? Let's say the finesse shot play style plus. Let's be absolutely realistic now, right? Am I going to be... I got Solskjaer on my team. Don't hate on him, but... With the finesse shot playstyle, it's a bit different, right? But am I going to play someone like Perez? I'm probably not. And I know with this curve, he lacks long shots. His finesse shots are not as good as Son. So that's why I still put the weighting on stats first and playstyles at a close second. And then roles third. I can't get the plus. It's not the end of the world. As long as they're in the right position, that is the most important thing. If I get the role plus, it's a benefit. And this is why I say, trigger your players yourself and learn how to do stuff manually. Because that's going to make the biggest difference. Until EA makes some amazing changes to AI, which I hope they do. One day, we keep hoping. I've been praying for the past 6-7 years. But until then, that's what you need to understand. So yes, they're important, especially I would say, look, especially if it's attacking fullback, you're going to notice it more. A role plus, they're going to get back into position easier. So maybe the argument kind of stands with is like, if you have a player that's playing an unorthodox role, so for example, a role plus for Navas, or let's say, for example, my centre mid's playing as a half winger, or let's say, for example, my CDM is playing as a wide half, or let's say, for example, a centre half, whereby when you're in possession, you're attacking with the ball, and they move from their native position, their transition to the defensive position will be much slower. And you will notice this more the less of a player you are, the less of a skilled player, because when you're a top tier player, you're going to notice Zoko's out of position, you're going to run back with him manually, or you're going to defend like a pro player and you're going to recover the situation. But the average player will struggle with that. So that is the key thing to take away at the end of the video from all this. If a player is not playing in their native position and they got some funky tactic where they're like playing as a half, if they're playing as a cam, that's fine. But they're playing as like a half wide or a half winger or something like that, or they're playing on roaming. You got them as a roaming and they're playing, they're centre back or whatever, centre mid. Then you're going to notice it the most. Anyways, thanks for watching. Look, we got a full video on roles, how each role works, their positioning. You come to my Patreon series, and we got, of course, other tutorials there like this where we teach you everything in depth. Remember, if you don't get better after 1 month, we'll refund your money. That's a Nail Guys guarantee. You got nothing to lose. Patreon.com/Nail Guys. Links down below in the description and the comment section down below. Peace out.